Welcome to Red-tastic. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to share my room with my future nephew? I'm 21 male and my sister is 18 female. The day my sister turned 18, she moved out with some friends and they all shared a small apartment together just a mile away from us. I, however, stayed because my college was close to home and I wouldn't waste much on living expenses. I started giving my parents money for rent, electricity and water, and I buy my own stuff that I need like laundry detergent, groceries, etc. 4 months ago, my sister came out and told us she was 2 months pregnant. My parents were obviously disappointed, but they hid that from her and offered to help in any way with the baby. And they've been doing pretty much everything. They have gone out and bought baby clothes, toys, a bassinet, bottles, blankets, everything. Now, because my sister lives with other roommates, she said she can't have the baby there with her and her boyfriend and convinced my parents to let the baby live here since she's less than a 5-minute drive away from us. My parents agreed with no argument even though they clearly weren't expecting that. And I didn't voice any opinion about it because it's their house and they can decide on what they want. However, I didn't know they were planning on having me share my own room with my nephew until my sister came home the other day and started moving the stuff my parents bought into my room. She was so confused and said it was obvious the baby would stay here because where else was he gonna sleep? I honestly thought since she'd been needing to feed him every couple hours the first few months, that he would be sleeping in the living room with my sister, and then when he started sleeping through the night, he would stay in my parents' room. Theirs is a lot bigger than mine anyways. To be honest, it bothered me that nobody even asked me for permission or how I would feel about that, and just assumed I'd be cool with sharing my room with a baby. That's not even my responsibility. I flat out told her no and took out all the baby stuff. Of course, she gets pissed and goes crying to my parents that I'm being mean and unsupportive of her pregnancy. My parents say I should give up half my room to the baby because family take care of each other, but yet she's happy to dump her baby here instead of finding a new place to live. I told them she's the one who got pregnant and it's not fair that I have to give up my room because of her decisions. My sister stormed off and hasn't contacted us since. My parents keep telling me to apologize to her, and even a few other relatives are telling me I'm being cruel for not wanting to make such a small sacrifice for my own nephew, which isn't fair. Babies cry all the time at all hours of the night. I'm not about to deal with all that in my own room, which I pay rent for. But that somehow makes me the bad guy here. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Her plan was the first couple months after the baby is born, she would stay here with us on the couch, with the baby staying in my room. Then she would just come in whenever he would cry. Then she figured when he started sleeping through the night and didn't require constant feedings, she would start staying at her own place again and leave the nighttime responsibilities for my parents to deal with until she came back in the morning, which honestly felt like a stupid plan to me and an excuse to dump the baby on my parents. And for people who keep asking, my sister and I used to share this room. You're not the a-hole, OP. I already have a bad feeling that your sister is going to be a very bad mother to this baby. A little research would tell her that her plan of going back to the apartment she lives with her boyfriend so soon won't work. You're totally right about her wanting to dump the baby on your parents, but it also seems like your parents are aware of this, and they have agreed to be used. And that's their decision, so they should stop trying to drag you into it. I think you would need to move out. Get a roommate because it doesn't seem like they're going to leave you alone. And trust me, having a newborn as a roommate is going to be hell for you. You don't deserve that in a house where you pay rent. Just take that rent and go someplace else. Now for some comments. I have no doubt that they will make OP take care of the baby as well. It's not his responsibility, and voicing his concerns wasn't appreciated by anyone, despite the fact that it's not fair to him. OP, don't give in and let them do what they want with your room and your time. Keep pushing the baby stuff from your room and reject babysitting if you don't want to. They could take advantage of it, as many parents tend to dump raising their child on other siblings. My husband had to take care of his siblings all the time because his parents didn't feel like it. Not the a-hole. You pay rent for your room. You're not giving up your room and sleep so your sister can neglect her own kid. Also, if the baby sleeps in your room, I guarantee that your family will expect you to take care of all nighttime feedings and diaper changes. Just know, if the baby does move in, get out immediately, because you will be expected to be free childcare. Since you pay rent and for your own expenses, you should be able to afford to live elsewhere. Don't be afraid to make the move. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for throwing money in my aunt's face, calling her a bitch and leaving? I, 20 female, and my little sister, 7 female, lost our parents 6 years ago in an accident. Our grandparents took care of us after that, but they have always been kind of uncaring from the start. My uncle, 35 male, was the one who was actually there for us when we had nobody. He's been the older brother-father figure in our lives. My sister loves him to death, and he really cares about us unlike everyone else. 2 weeks ago, my uncle invited us to come stay with him for a few days. My aunt has never liked us, and she always complains or makes rude remarks about how we orphans should be grateful that she's letting my uncle buy things for us, or how I should be grateful I'm a young girl because that's the only reason he's helping us, etc. A few days ago, my sister accidentally dropped the TV remote and it stopped working. Honestly, it was in a bad shape already and it was really old, but my aunt blamed it on her. She went on a huge rant about how we were ruining her house and how we were being ungrateful. She brought up her own 10-year-old son and told us that we should try to be like him, how he was really well-mannered, etc. Her son is not well-mannered at all. He constantly calls us orphans. He always snatches the remote food from my sister, saying that it was his house and his TV, his food. Usually I ignore the comments because it's true and just take my sister and go back to my room. But when my sister dropped the remote and my aunt made comments about her, I couldn't tolerate it. She kept demanding money, which I would have given her even if she didn't ask. And she kept calling my sister ungrateful little shit and said that she should know her place. I would ignore it if it was about me, but my sister is all I have. I grabbed my purse from my room and threw the money she was asking for in her face. I was literally in tears. I called her a greedy bitch and left without saying anything else. My uncle was not home during all of this. Now my aunt is demanding an apology and my grandparents are angry with me. They say that my aunt was kind enough to let me stay there and I shouldn't be ungrateful when I have nobody. They want me to apologize, but I don't want to. It was my uncle who helped me and wanted me to stay, not her and her son. My uncle told me not to worry about it, but my grandparents are pressuring me. I just want an outside perspective on this. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My uncle has argued with his wife before due to her behavior towards us. But then everyone just accuses us of being the cause of the arguments or trying to ruin their marriage. My grandma has told me not to bother my uncle. So lately, I just ignore her comments and don't tell my uncle anything. You're not the a-hole, OP. Your grandparents and your aunt are big a-holes though. I can't wrap my head around the fact that these people who are supposed to be there for you and make you feel less lonely in the world after the death of your parents are treating you like this. They are horrible people and they don't deserve any apology from you. Your aunt is making sure that you have no escape from your grandparents and she should be ashamed of herself for treating you and your sister this way. I really hope you're able to get a job and move out of your grandparents' house and build that escape that you desperately need for yourself. Good luck, OP. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. You know what an orphaned 7-year-old doesn't need? Horrible people calling her an ungrateful little shit. I think your reaction was completely understandable. That's a hard situation to keep your cool in. 7-year-olds drop things. They're little kids and accidents happen. My daughter is 7 and she's constantly breaking things accidentally. And I'm sure this lady's kid does too. Thank you for having your sister's back. Not the a-hole. I am so sorry you have to go through this. Your aunt is abusive and so are your grandparents. Your cousin is learning this behavior from them as well. You are not worth less than anyone else because of a situation out of your control happening. Your substantial loss does not define you nor negate your worth. Your uncle loves you. I don't have any advice on how to handle your aunt and this current situation, but I hope you can get out on your own with your sister at some point. Be strong for yourself, be strong for your sister, and know you are not who your aunt claims you are. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend of 2 years to stop contacting my family? My 23 female's boyfriend Mark, 28 male, comes along with my family really well. I used to love this side of our relationship until Mark and I started having problems. The past 8 months we've been fighting quite a bit more than we used to. For the most part, we've been talking things through and are working on keeping personal stress out of the relationship. However, when we do fight, no matter who starts it or how significant or insignificant the reason is, Mark tends to vent it on my parents, especially on my mother. Mark is not very close with his parents. Rarely meets his mom, never met his dad. So in a way, I'm happy for him finding a support network in my family. It's just that I used to be able to talk to my mother very openly about my things, and for quite some time it has happened that Mark's been telling his side of things before me, and my side is not heard anymore. At first my mom was pretty objective about what she heard, but now she and my dad have been taking Mark's side in everything. Eventually I did stop talking about any of this to my family, but they keep bringing up our disagreements about which they've heard from Mark. My mom keeps referring to Mark as the son she never had. I have 2 sisters, and it seems that she's worried of us breaking up, and therefore defending Mark in everything. Things escalated yesterday when I eventually told Mark that his behavior has changed my family's dynamic, and I would appreciate it if he didn't talk about our interpersonal stuff to my parents anymore. He was upset and claimed that he doesn't specifically call my mom in order to complain about me, but these things just come up. I responded with, "Then just stop calling her," which was a bit too hurtful, but honestly, I find it hard to believe he doesn't call, especially to complain about me, when my mom seems to know our fights thoroughly in just a matter of hours. He's acting like nothing happened now, but I can tell he's not fine. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I've read through the comments and it has opened my eyes, mainly on the fact that I really need to discuss this with my parents as well. A lot of people are commenting on Mark being potentially abusive, etc., and I want to say that I'm not surprised over this based on the very limited information in my post. We'll keep trying to figure things out, but I'm not about to break up with him over these comments, which I'm sure you all understand. I think it's a misunderstanding that I'd just be mad over my parents taking Mark's side instead of me. I don't think they should be taking anyone's side since it's my relationship. And as said, this is having an effect on my family dynamics, and I feel like I have the right to be upset over it. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. This is a bit of a strange one, really. Personally speaking, I would find it weird as if my significant other constantly used my own mother as their best friend or venting buddy. It's having a direct effect on your relationship with your family and in a negative way. whether you're being an a-hole in the argument or not. I would say that it is strange and weird for your boyfriend to be sharing your personal arguments so vividly with your parents. He doesn't have to be abusive or shitty to do this. It is possible that it is simply a consequence of his lack of ability to call his own parents and him and OP's parents getting along, which over time has made it feel natural for him to call them. That said, OP is completely in the right, and him calling so much and telling his side so often that OP's family seem to have a completely one-sided picture of everything, as well as putting him ahead of their own child, is not okay. Not the a-hole, and I do agree, OP's parents need a reality check here. What is happening is not okay in any way, shape, or form.